Welcome to the second episode, part 2 of Minor League Maineiacs. Part 2 was supposed to be a couple days later, but we're horrible with punctuality, and it's like 3 weeks later. So, yeah, deal with it. So, we're going to try to get through an entire segment of the show without talking about the NFL, which may be impossible, but we may do it. So just stick with us. We'll start off, since the season is starting in Major League Baseball. Last night was the second opening night, since I guess Sunday was technically opening day, and then yesterday was other opening day.
It was real opening day.
Yeah, real opening day.
When there's more than one game.
Right, exactly. And so we're going to do what every other fan does on MLB opening day, and we're going to overreact about the first game that was played. So I'll just start with, I'm predicting the Red Sox to go 162-0 because they're amazing.
That lineup is untouchable.
Yeah, 8 home runs every night. That's my prediction.
Ortiz and Sandoval went a combined 0 for 9, and they still blasted 5 homers. Yeah, okay, I'll be all right.
Yeah, exactly. And Napoli was in the lineup.
Yeah.
So yeah, pretty awesome when your pitcher's hitting and you score 8 runs on one of the best starting pitchers in the major leagues. But enough about the really good Red Sox. Let's talk about the shitty Yankees. So Ryan, how was your overreaction to the first game of the season for the Yankees?
Well, I mean, 2 years ago we had a farewell tour for Mariano. Last year is Derek Jeter. So this year, I guess it's going to be farewell to Joe Girardi because he's a fucking dick. I mean, I don't know. No, I'm just kidding. That's my overreaction. But, it wouldn't surprise me if he gets fired in Game 10 because that's New York. Honestly, Tanaka is afraid to throw a fastball. And if he's not going to throw his four-seam, then he can't set up with his actual pitches to strike people out. And he got lit up yesterday. Who knows? If that's a sign that his elbow's complete shit, we're fucked. If that's just because it's the first game of the season and he's just taking it slow, who knows? But right now, we're not looking good and the Sox look great. But if you judge every game one in the season, I feel like World Series champions would be a lot different than they are today. It's a whole season, so I'm not afraid.
Yeah, I think the big thing with Tanaka is he's afraid to throw his fastball because he doesn't have a fastball because of his elbow.
Oh, that's what I mean. And if it's truly because his elbow can't handle it anymore, he's done. If it's just because he's scared and a pussy, then he needs to throw it. Even if it's not a good fastball, you need to change eye levels, you need to change speeds, you need to do something besides throwing 87, 86 mile an hour junk.
Yeah, I think his average last night was 90, and I think when he was healthy, he was averaging 95 to 96. Yeah. So that's an insane drop-off.
It's huge.
For a pitcher.
Exactly what happened to CeCe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Weren't they talking about him potentially having Tommy John before this season, and then they just decided to fuck it, let's wing it and go with it? I kind of feel like at this point, if he has another start like that, and and things don't look much better for us. I mean, the one thing nobody's talking about is our offense fucking sucks too. By the way, it's not like that was purely Tanaka's fault yesterday. But not that Tanaka pitched well. But anyway, back to my point about Tanaka is I would almost rather just, if we don't have any other positive signs for the season, just have him have the surgery now. Just seriously, there's no point in having him pitch like that for the rest of the season.
6 games in, shut him down.
Yeah, right. It's one game.
I thought we were overreacting here.
Oh, that's all right. That's fair.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree with Hardy, not just because it's the first game of the year, but because this has been a problem with Tanaka for a while now, and we know that based on the reports, they were considering putting him on the DL and having Tommy John surgery, shutting him down for the year, but instead went with the wait-and-see method, which is pretty ridiculous when you think about it, because I don't know the last time a team went with the wait-and-see method on Tommy John surgery and it actually went well. Like, it's not like magically the ligaments in his arms are just gonna completely heal and get better. Like, this is the reason pitchers throw harder after Tommy John surgery. It's because they were injured in the first place and they needed Tommy John surgery. So basically, the only way, what it looks like the Yankees are doing with Tanaka are saying, you're not going to have as much as on your fastball this year. And in that case, I mean, he's not going to get magically better. He's changed his mechanics. So it looks like they're going with this is Tanaka for the rest of his career. He's not going to have Tommy John surgery, and we're just going to make him into a finesse pitcher that only has a 90-mile-an-hour fastball. And that literally looks like what they're trying to do. And if I was a Yankee fan, that'd be horrifying to me because he's pitched his whole career with this 95, 96-mile-an-hour fastball that he can mix in his nasty changes and other off-speed stuff. And now you're basically saying for the rest of your career, go out and be a different pitcher. Oh, and hey, you're not actually that old, and we still have you on contract for tons of years that you're going to have to do this with. So it just doesn't make sense to me. To me, they should have just done what the majority, I mean, and when I say majority, I mean it's got to be like 90 percentile of teams do with star pitchers in this scenario, and they should have just shut him down in the middle of the season and said we're not going to have him for the rest of the year next year, instead of trying to change everything about him. Because even if it is an overreaction, I mean, it didn't look like he can be a finesse pitcher. Without that, he needs that fastball.
I guess the thing is, too, it's really his first time, and he's still got 6 strikeouts, you know what I mean? Still getting Ks. The only thing was really the home run that really screwed him. But I guess the thing to me would be, if you're going to shut him down, what you tell him in start 2 and 3 is, I don't care if your elbow falls off, you throw it as hard as you fucking can. And if his elbow fucking's done, you'll find out that way. But don't have him do this finesse shit all year. Either you have it or you don't.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Yeah,
I don't really have anything else to add to that, but I'd agree with that. It is surprising that they didn't shut him down, since it seems like, if anything, teams nowadays are almost too eager to pull the trigger on Tommy John surgery. Like, they're just kind of having guys, because it's become such a standard procedure, that there's, like, you know, in teams' eyes, there's almost no risk involved. So they're like, fuck it, just go have it done. Like, they don't, it might be borderline, one of those cases where he wouldn't need it, he'd be fine, but they just go and have him do it anyway. So it's kind of weird to see the reverse of that nowadays.
The only reason I think that they might have done that, and obviously Josh, Ryan, you guys can correct me if I'm wrong about this, but I feel like because there were so many questions on the Yankee pitching staff going into this season, and Tanaka was supposed to be sort of our, you know, bona fide ace, like no unquestioned ace, basically. And without, so if we went ahead with the surgery and didn't have Tanaka this year, I feel like that's basically more or less giving up on the season because we don't have another. I mean, CC's over the hill, and what are you going to count on Pineda to be your number one? So I feel like it was sort of a last-ditch attempt for them to say, okay, well, try to pitch through the season, Tanaka, see if he can pull it out. And if yesterday's a sign, he's not going to be able to do it. But I do agree with Ryan has a good point. He did look good in the early innings, and it was just that one big home run that really killed him. But it'll hurt him not to have the fastball.
I think the biggest thing with them doing that is it's a huge risk, because even if you're right and that's why they chose to do it, I mean, if they're 10 games out in July and it doesn't look like they're, you know, it doesn't look like they have a shot at even the wild card, then you have to shut them down. And then you're talking about not just missing half of this year, now he's missing half of next year too. And so if they just did that, I think that was a way bigger risk than just shutting him down and saying, hey, it's a lost year. I mean, I know it's the Yankees, and they've already had a couple lost years, so it's hard for them to have another one. But especially with no distractions like a Rivera or a Jeter home farewell tour. But it just, I don't know, it just makes more sense to me that you just shut down your pitcher and look for the future. I mean, we've seen it with other clubs. Matt Harvey, the Mets basically were, when that came out, they were going to let him pitch. And then like a week later when he was about to pitch, they're like, nah, you know what? That's a pretty dumb idea. We're just going to shut you down and fix your elbow so that you can come back 100%. That's why I don't think the Yankees are that stupid. I think this whole thing is them thinking that they can make him into a finesse pitcher and he doesn't need his fastball anymore. And maybe this is just his first start of doing that, and he's basically like a prospect again, learning, or like a a veteran guy who's in his late 30s, whose fastball is breaking down and needs to completely revolutionize how he pitches, is maybe what they're thinking they can do with him now. But That's obviously just as big as risk as what Hardy was saying they might be doing, because then if it doesn't work, you're really screwed.
You can't force him to go back, or you can try, but there's no guarantee he's going to be the same as he was, even if he has the surgery.
Yep, exactly. All right, so I guess that's not really that. You guys did a really shitty job overreacting. That was really rational. So I'm very disappointed in you, all of you.
World Series champs, chalk it up.
Cut Tanaka, fire Girardi.
That's better. That's the spirit.
Burn down the stadium.
Burn down the stadium they just built.
Yeah, exactly. That they can't fill.
Don't buy any of their tickets. Oh wait, everyone's already doing that. So I think we should slide right into our baseball picks, even though we're a couple days late. Oh well.
Point out that all these picks were made before opening day.
I mean, I switched all of mine just based on the first day of the season, but that's just me, because that's just what I do.
Smart.
Yeah, I figured. Might as well start in the powerhouse, which isn't really a powerhouse, in the AL East.
Yeah.
Personally, this may sound a little biased, but I am picking the Red Sox to win the AL East. And basically, I just think it's because the regular season you don't need an ace pitcher, and the Red Sox don't have an ace pitcher. I mean, Clay Buchholz looked great yesterday, but who knows if he'll do that again with how inconsistent he is.
His arm could fall off on his fourth start, so.
And that's also true. Or he could, almost die from a fever or whatever that he did before. Who knows what's going to happen to him. He'll just, catch the plague or something, which is completely reasonable with Clay Buchholz, but they don't have an ace, but they do have a ridiculous lineup. But obviously it's scary because they have a lot of injury concerns, both in their pitching rotation and in their lineup. And then included in that, their bullpen could either be fantastic or it could crumble and be one of the worst bullpens in the league, depending on there's tons of new guys that we have no idea if they're going to come back and be the same type of players they were, like Ugando coming back from his injury, and then Uehara's injured, and then Mujica was good until he came to the AL and he was bad, and then all of a sudden he had a good month again. So there's just tons of question marks, but I think the entire AL East is filled with question marks, except for the Rays, and the only reason the Rays don't have question marks is because they're going to finish last in the AL East. So really, it is an open division, and I think the Red Sox have the best offense, other than only and close with the Orioles. So my bias comes in a little bit when I pick the Red Sox over the Orioles.
The O's are terrible.
I don't think they're terrible.
I mean,
okay, Hardy, do you think the Orioles are terrible?
I mean, I'll be honest. I know that they obviously won the division last year, and as far as I knew, they didn't lose anybody major. I may be wrong about that. Go ahead and make fun of me if that's not the case.
They lost Nick Markakis, Cruz.
That's it.
Oh, I knew about Cruz. That's right. Yeah.
Rangers is hurt. Chris Davis, who knows if he'll come back after that, or if
he's coming back. He's only suspended 25 games.
Back to his form is what I'm saying.
Oh.
I mean, there's a lot of question marks there. I mean, Adam Jones is pissed. I mean, right now,
that's what I said. The whole league is the whole division is question marks.
Well, right, exactly, and that's basically why I put them just to win it again. I don't think that's a very strong pick. I just feel like the whole division is full of question marks, so I stuck with last year's winner. Really, that's what it amounts to for me.
Solid.
Okay, Ryan, who do you think will take the division?
I mean, after Game 1, I really wanted to retract what I put. And then go. No, I'm just kidding. So I picked the Yankees. Obviously, I wanted to pick someone different. If you look, the Red Sox clearly have probably the best team on paper because of that offense. But the Yankees is the exact opposite. We have a totally old offense who can break down any second, and a pitching staff which could be good or they could be shit. I mean, I love our bullpen. Even yesterday, I was really happy to see Tanaka go out because I was able to see 7 guys out of that bullpen and how they held it down. I mean, we beat them in strikeouts. It's just that a couple home runs really screwed the game over. But if you go off of Game 1, I mean, John Lester looked like a bitch yesterday. You're going to say Lester's out for the year and he's terrible? No. I mean,
fuck him.
Yeah, well, all right, you guys might. So I'm really excited about this year, and that's because I feel like there's not going to be a lot of injuries. Somehow I feel that they'll take enough roids to not get caught, and they'll stay on the field. I'm really curious to see what A-Rod does also, because literally we have a lot relying on him. Everyone hates him, but if he goes off for even like 25 home runs, that's way more. That's 25 more home runs than we had last year. But I don't know.
I took the Red Sox. I don't really have anything to add beyond what Josh already covered at length. So that offense, we saw it. Even if the key power guys or the more traditional power guys like Napoli and Ortiz aren't hitting, you still got power all the way through. And so I think that lineup is definitely good enough to at least cover the pitching staff's ass for the regular season. Who knows about the playoffs, but
that's when you trade for Johnny Cueto at the trade deadline, and then powerhouse your way into the playoffs. All right, so Ryan's delusional and think the Yankees pitching staff may or may not be good. So now that we have that covered, the AL Central is pretty interesting. It seems pretty open this year, as our picks are all different. I picked the Royals just based on how close they were last year, and also just because it's kind of a feel-good story, and I kind of wanted to go with it. But I actually don't think the Tigers. I'm pretty sure the Tigers won't. I think it's going to be between the Royals and Indians this year, to be honest. And I just stuck with the Royals. What do you think, Ryan?
I love the feel-good stories. I would love the Indians. I like what they have. I like their pitching staff. I mean, last night, it was a tough game. To Houston, but Clever looked good. I think the biggest thing though that really attracts me to the Tigers is even though you lose Scherzer, you still got Price that you got late last year. You still got other studs like Miguel Cabrera. You still got Victor Kinsler. You got players on that team that are they could propel you by themselves, which they've been doing basically for the last 10 years in that division. Well, Royals came up last year. But I just feel like the Tigers are still at the helm, and until someone really takes them down, they're there to stay.
I'm going with the Tribe. Go Cleveland. They're just a balanced. It's from what I've looked at, they don't really have any glaring weaknesses, and consistency is what it takes in a MLB season. So I'm taking them.
Yeah, I also went with the Tigers. I find one of the most consistent themes in sports is kind of like Ryan was saying. I feel like it's going to be hard to unseat the Tigers. I think that division has a shot at it. I don't think it's like an unquestioned runaway that the Tigers win it, but I don't have enough confidence in any of the other teams to overtake the Tigers, at least not this year. I got to see a little more out of them first.
I think the biggest thing, the reason I picked the Royals, just because they were a game behind Detroit last year for taking the division. So when you're only a game behind, and they didn't really lose anything, and then the Tigers lose Porcello and Scherzer, and Verlander's just another year older. Even with that offense, Prince. Is Prince still on Detroit?
No, it's Texas.
Yeah, right. And so even with that offense, they were only so good last year because their pitching staff, other than Scherzer, sort of folded in on themselves at the end of the year. And now that you take away those stronger starting pitchers, and I just think the Royals would be able to make up that one game difference and take the division. I see Detroit more on this is them kind of falling apart now, like they've seen their peak, and I think that they're kind of going downhill from there. And on top of that, their biggest weakness one of the biggest reasons they haven't done well in the playoffs is because of their bullpen's been extremely weak, and they didn't really make key additions that popped out at me that said, oh yeah, they're definitely affecting this now. So I just think all together their pitching is just horrible now, and I just don't think that's enough to keep pace with the Royals. And I think this is a year the Royals overtake them for the division.
I mean, I'd love to see that, but I guess the two question marks I see with the Royals is that you lost James Shields, the free agency, who, I mean, he's a good pitcher. In the playoffs, he's big game James for a reason. Hate him or love him, he can pitch in a moment. And then Billy Butler was a huge offense. So yes, you picked up someone, and they looked great yesterday with their offense, and their bullpen is insane. I just don't know. I'd like to see what they do without Shields and Butler, because to me that made the Royals so great was the team chemistry that they had on that field.
Yeah. I assume they'd be able to keep the chemistry up. I don't think they've had shocks. James Shields isn't exactly known as a team chemistry guy. So
No,
I
I
don't
was
really
more
see.
Butler. That's what I was
What? Oh, right. So yeah. I guess that's a good point. I just don't see how it would just all of a sudden diminish. All right. Enough with the Central. The AL West. Also, we all had varying picks. Personally, I picked the Angels just because I think they have the best pitching staff and the best offense in that division. The Mariners, I think, are up and coming, so I wouldn't be surprised if they did take the division. But I just think the Angels are just going to be the best team in the AL again. When you have the reigning MVP, and who knows, could be the MVP again this year on your team, that helps out a lot. And they have the pitching, enough pitching, to balance out the offense. So I think they just continue doing what they did last year.
Ditto. Mike Trout's a monster. I have the Angels too.
Yeah, Greg and I have almost the exact picks all the way through, so this should be interesting between
That
me
was
and
not intentional, by the way.
yeah.
It's also why I went, when we go to the postseason picks, it's why I went totally off the board with that. I'm like, all right, we can't have the same picks all the way through.
Yeah. What do you think, Ryan?
Well, I picked the Oakland. Honestly, I love Billy Beane and everything he's done. Now, yes, they don't ever win a World Series, and they seldom win a playoff game. But as for regular season heroes and what he turns out every year, just amazes me. So I always shit on him, but now I'm gonna jump on that bandwagon probably 13 years too late. Their pitching's still okay. Yeah, they lost some people, and obviously they lost Lester, but that was a late addition that they got last year, and they lost Cespedes in that trade. But they got Butler. I think that's a cool key addition for some home runs, especially as a DH. You still got some young studs out in the field, and I just like what he did this offseason. The thing that scares me though is the Mariners, and also are they done picking people up? Because as you saw 2 days ago, another huge trade happened, and that's what really makes Billy Beane so crazy, is because he'll throw that week 2 or last 20 seconds before the deadline ends. He'll do a crazy trade. But really, the true underdog, and really why I picked Oakland, was Barry Zito's back in town, boys. And let me tell you about Barry Zito. That 12-6 curve coming down like this, and it dropped down. Barry Zito, Cy Young, what?
Yeah, Hardy.
Yeah. It's going to counteract exactly what I was just saying about the AL Central, but I'm going to take the up-and-coming team here. I have a good feeling about the Mariners this year. I think Cano is going to have not going to be the MVP, but close to an MVP type of year, comeback sort of. He's my comeback player. We'll get to that. And I think the Angels are really good. I think the Angels are great, but I just I don't know. I believe in the Mariners this year, I guess.
You guys are brave. Considering the Angels had 98 wins last year. And I think the Aikman had 88.
No, they didn't have Barry Zito.
Oh, I forgot Barry Zito makes up a 10-game difference.
Duh.
My bad. I think you can, based on like what we were talking about, you could probably pick out who we think are the wild cards. But I'll start first. My two wild cards.
Run through these quickly.
What's that?
Then I think we can just run through these quickly.
Yeah. Mine are the Tigers in Seattle. I mean, it's basically been mentioned before. I think the Tigers have enough to compete for the wild card. They'll be behind the Royals all year. And like I said before, I think Seattle's up and coming. I think they've made a lot of big moves that showed that they're serious about winning now, and they're spending the money to do it. So
I also have the Tigers and the Mariners. I would love to see that be wrong, and it be the Royals and the A's, because I like both those teams better, but I just don't see it happening.
Hardy.
Oh, normally Ryan went next, but whatever. I went with the Angels because I didn't have them winning the AL West, and I thought it was a little ridiculous to have them out of the playoffs. So I have the Angels, and I have the Yankees because I'm a man of faith, and I'm counting on Pineda and Tanaka not pitching like that all year long.
Solid reasoning.
I took Boston because clearly, I mean, they're the favorites to win the division, and I didn't take them in the division, so I think they're going to get up there. And I love the Mariners, and by choosing that, that means somehow I throw out the Angels, and I don't know why, but
You're just predicting Trout to get injured in like the second game of the season.
Yeah,
You should have said that.
Like
Trout runs into Pujols, who runs into their ace, who then I don't know.
All right, we're switching gears to the NL. This is going to be fun because I'm pretty sure none of us know that much about the NL since it's like a foreign division. I mean, because it's just so messed up.
It really is weird. Like, baseball is the only sport where, like, I guess, like, in baseball they're the leagues, but in, like, the other sports they're the conferences. But they're so different.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's the only major sport where the two conferences, leagues, divisions, whatever you want to call them, play a completely different game.
Yeah.
Like, they literally, if you separated them and made them different sports, you'd have fans of, like, the way each league does it, and it wouldn't have, like, work.
In about 15 years, you wouldn't have any more fans of the National League because really fucking old people and the Baseball Writers Association likes pitchers hitting. But other than that, yeah, I agree.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so NL East, this was an easy one for me. The Nationals are my pick, with the Marlins probably the Marlins and Mets hanging with them the entire year. But but I definitely think the Nationals are going to be the best team in the NL, at least for the regular season, and they'll take the NL East.
Yeah, they're in best team in baseball conversation if things go, like, you know, if the way they look on paper pans out. So I took the Nationals.
Their pitching staff is just too good. I had to go with the Nationals, especially in a league that's becoming, you know, more the pitcher of the year of the pitcher or whatever, and it's only getting worse. So I got to go with their rotation right now.
Because all you idiots chose the same team for like the whole NL. I went with the Marlins. I like the key additions. I mean, you guys knocked it. With the NL, you have to literally look at their bench of utility guys. And the NL, you don't ever look at a utility guy. You just like, oh, fuck that guy. He's just there to warm up the seat on the bench. But I like Ichiro. I like a couple other guys that they picked up there. They want to win now because they just gave a fucking big-ass deal, and they have a new stadium. So I think with their pitching and with the young guys that are coming up in that franchise, I think they stand a chance. But like you guys said, the Nationals rotation is just, God, there's no hole in it. I just hope they all just, I don't know, like I don't know if they die, but I hope they all like collide at the same time and they all break their elbows. But
yeah, I think I mean, you both talked about the rotation. That's the biggest thing. When you add Scherzer to what they already had there, it's just, I mean, it's a phenomenal pitching staff from the bottom to top. I mean, they have at least three ones, aces in that one pitching staff. So it's going to be interesting to see how they use them. I think they actually lost last night too. Scherzer gave up no earned runs and they end up losing.
Yeah.
So if that's going to be the story of the year, it could be interesting, especially against a division rival. NL Central, once again, we're basically all on the same page. I picked the Cardinals just because, I mean, they're basically the Patriots of Major League Baseball. No matter what happens, they're always going to be in the conversation. That's just what they do. What do you think, Greg?
I agree. Their fans are douchier than Patriots fans, though. They act like they're like the best fans in baseball. Oh, they're so polite. Yeah, and then there's videos last year of Cardinals fans beating people up in the parking lot. Yeah, fuck you. Get off your high horse. But no, the Cardinals are just a perennial powerhouse nowadays. And until someone unseats them in that division, they're probably playing for the pennant. So.
Yeah, I mean, I continue with my non-Mariners theme here. Is that I don't think you're going to unseat the Cardinals. I don't see anyone in that division doing that this year anyway.
Well, in honor of National Beer Day, clearly you got to pick the Brew Crew and everything they stand for, which is drinking, sausages running on the field, naked woman. There's a slide in the outfield, which is super fun because you get sucked back off the slide. I mean, what's more about baseball than those three things? I don't care about pitching. No. But I do like what the Brewers have. I do think they stand a chance, but probably won't unseat the Cardinals. But I think with Aramis Ramirez, there's a lot of hungry old people mixed with a lot of young studs. And I think if you get a healthy balance of that, these old people want to win now because they're going to be out of the league soon, and these young guys, want to prove themselves for a big contract. If you mesh that well together, you could have a phenomenal season. That's what I foresee happening, but, I mean, that's really hard to do. So good luck for that manager.
All right, well, after
Let's
that...
take a road trip to Milwaukee. Stadium sounds awesome.
We'll move over to the West. I had the Dodgers just based on the fact that they just keep spending more and more money and continuing to win above 90 games while spending the money. So if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I think they're just going to take the division again. I don't see anyone that's going to rival them. The Giants will probably end up going on their win one, lose one streak, so they probably won't even make the playoffs this year. And I just don't see another real challenger in that division besides the Dodgers taking it.
I'm on the Dodgers bandwagon, too. Just throwing that out there.
I want to make sure you guys know I was not confused in not picking the New York Giants. I realized that
I gave you that
one. But no, I picked them because I feel like they're a sneaky good team. I think I still
sneaky.
They're getting
they just won the World Series. What's sneaky about that?
They're sneaky because they're playing in the same division with the Dodgers. Okay. I think they're gonna. I think they can.
Everyone forgets about the defending champ.
In baseball,
I'm trying to forget about the last couple defending champs in a couple sports right now. So.
Yeah, it's like, oh, they're a baseball team that won and not on the East Coast. Whatever. We just forget about them. It's basically what happens.
Well, can I at least say sneaky that no one's talking about them?
Yeah. Sure. It's probably because they win one and then lose one and then win one and then lose one every year. That's basically their strategy. Yeah.
Next year we'll talk about the
Giants. Right. This year the Red Sox win the World Series, and then next year the Giants win the World Series again. It's like this whole deal we have with Major League Baseball.
Well, I mean, I'm going to stick with my New York buddy, and I totally agree. They are sneaky in the sense that, I mean, they've won 3 out of the last 5 years. They're a dynasty, technically, I mean, in baseball, and no one cares about them because they do it with random guys. Aubrey Huff was a fucking World Series hero one year, and then you have Tim Lincecum, who was a hero in year one, and now Tim Lincecum's like not even pitching in the World Series this last year. And it's just like, how does a team do that and win? It's cool, it's great, but I don't foresee them coming back after I say that. I love what San Diego has done. When you get Will Myers, you take Kemp from the Dodgers, you get Upton, you get Kimbrel the other day as a closer, and the young catcher they got to go with James Fields in free agency. This is like, if you don't win this year, you're an idiot as a GM. But if you do, that's the only way you'll be able to rival those Dodgers. But they think they did it in a way without spending money. And I think that's the cool aspect, because you got like Kemp, who's, I still think he can produce, but the Dodgers don't want him. But I mean, after watching the game, they played against each other last night. 6-3 Dodgers win. So that's a toughie. But the Dodgers, I mean, they picked up Jimmy Rollins, who, I wanted the Yankees to pick him up, and he goes for a home run. And if you look at that Dodgers lineup, there's really no holes, and they got pitching. But I just love San Diego, and I mean, since Tony Gwynn's been gone, they haven't done anything. So I really hope that some faith gets thrown in there, because their football team's leaving in a year or two. So, geez, give them something to cheer for down there.
All right, so we'll go to the wild card. My two picks are the Pirates and the Mets. The Pirates, just because they were so close last year, and I think they make the wild card again, and maybe they do some damage in the playoffs this year. I mean, they have McCutchen, who's always a finalist for the NL MVP, and I just think that they have a young enough team that's improving, and as they get older, they're going to add that experience, and one of these years they're going to put it together and make a run in the playoffs. And then the Mets, I don't know if this is a sneaky team or not. Some people are talking about them, but I think the biggest thing with the Mets is Matt Harvey coming back from his Tommy John surgery and becoming the ace again of that staff. And if he can do what he did his first year and have the sub-3 ERA and get some wins, I can definitely see them getting over 500 and just making that last wild card spot.
I have the Pirates and the Padres. The Pirates, for the reasons that you said, essentially. They looked really good last year. They still have McCutchen. I think they're going to be a really good team again this year. So definitely have them in for a playoff spot. And the Padres, for the reasons that Ryan said. So I don't have them. I don't think they're going to be quite good enough to win the division, but I definitely think they're good enough to make the playoffs. So.
Yeah, so I have the Dodgers and the Pirates. I have the Dodgers because I feel they are a really good team. Ryan mentioned they have a great lineup. I don't see them losing enough games to not make the wild card, if that perspective makes any sense. And then the Pirates, I kind of thought that they might regress this year, but the more I thought about it, I can't. I don't know. First of all, they're, in my mind, maybe not in most people's mind, but in my mind, they're sort of a feel-good story. So I kind of want them to make the playoffs again.
Oh, I'm totally on the Pirates bandwagon.
So I hope they don't regress, and I'm not picking them to regress. You gotta love McCutchen, and you gotta hope he finally wins something too, because I feel like McCutchen for a while played on a lot of Pirates teams that were not so good, and I don't know. I guess that's more of a heart pick than a gut pick, but
yeah, I went with the Dodgers. Clearly, I mean, they're going to be up there with that team. And I picked the Nationals because of that rotation, because it might be the best of all time if they all perform what we think they'll do. I love the Pirates, but I think the biggest key for me not picking them was the loss of Russell Martin. And because people don't think of how much catchers change the game. Catchers, I mean, really determine what the pitchers are throwing, what they're doing. They're there every day. It's probably the hardest position to play in baseball. And, I mean, they're unheard of. And Russell Martin transforms every pitching staff he's gone to, whether it's been L.A. to New York to Pittsburgh. And now he scares me in Toronto with that staff. So, I mean, I don't know if they can I don't know if the Pirates have enough.
All right, I think basically what we've proven here is that no one knows what's going to happen in the MLB this year. I mean, legit, you're seeing these types of picks from everyone that's making their selections, so it should be a really exciting year because there is a hell of a lot of parity in Major League Baseball right now.
I feel like there's a lot more open divisions.
Mm-hmm.
And for teams where either there's existing powerhouses and other teams are coming up, or just teams where everyone's kind of looking to have like a down year, there's a lot of parity within the division. So that'll be hopefully some of that comes to fruition and we get to see some different playoff matchups.
Right. All right. We'll just jump right into AL champion, NL champions, and the World Series champions. I think we can just do it in one bunch.
Sure.
Unfortunately, I have to go with the front runners, and I'm just gonna have an all Los Angeles World Series, which is absolutely disgusting. But I think I'm predicting for it to happen. I think the Angels are clearly the best team in the AL. I'd like to pick the Red Sox, but until they make their pitching staff better. I mean, like I said, I think in the regular season you can get away with not having great pitching and just having great offense. But in the playoffs, you need someone to be that ace. And maybe Porcello could be, maybe Buchholz will get through the season and can be, but it's too much of an unknown, so I can't pick the Red Sox. I mean, if they go out and trade for Cueto, then yeah, that's a team that can make it to the World Series. But right now, the Angels, I have to pick them. The Dodgers, I mean, it's the Dodgers or Nationals for me. I'm not going crazy out of the box, so I have to pick. I have to pick the Dodgers there, just based on having the best pitcher in Kershaw, and I guess I'm just betting on him to not collapse in the postseason like he did last year and to pitch well. I feel like if you're that good of a pitcher, you have to do something in the playoffs. So I'm just betting on him doing that. And with that enormous payroll, I just feel like the Dodgers have to put it together and win. When you're facing, I mean, I think it's going to be a series like that would be a 7-game series anyway, so I think it's going to be close. And I just think the Dodgers have what it takes to win the World Series, even though I don't want them to. I think that would be horrible.
I took the Indians as my AL champion, mostly because I felt like going against the grain with these picks. I definitely agree with you, Josh, though, on the Red Sox. Like that, they just don't have the pitching for me to go with my heart and pick them to win the AL. If things hold together and they do okay, I can see them making like a fairly deep run, but I don't see it being enough to get them over the hill. NL Pirates, because fuck you, why not? And World Series Pirates, because fuck you, why not? No, those are my reasons. You guys can go now.
Yeah, so I went with my AL champion is going to be the Mariners. I already said I think they're going to have a big year. I think Cano is going to have a big comeback year. I think he'll hit well in the playoffs too. I think that'll get him up there. I do think that the Nationals rotation, because of how good it is, and I agree with Josh that in general in the playoffs you really need star pitching to get far into the playoffs. And in my mind, I need to see something. I need to see that their lineup would have to suck all year or something. I don't know. The Nationals, I just don't see how, with that rotation, how you're going to beat them, especially in the playoffs. So they're my World Series champion as well.
As much as this ails me to say, I picked the Boston Red Sox. I mean, I'm a realist. I have a lot of faith in my Yankees, but I mean, let's be real.
Clearly not.
Well, no, I mean, because I'm gonna be real. If when Boston makes the playoffs, it reminds me of like the Kings of hockey or any great underdog team that just has grit and the will to win. Is that if Boston is in the playoffs, they have a fucking 90% chance to get to that series, and they're gonna win it because they want it. They want it. That's why they get players that want it, and I respect that aspect. I mean, as for my NL, I picked the Nats because, I mean, if that rotation stays together and you have your 1, 2, and 3 being a 1, 1, and 1, basically, a number 1 pitcher and 3 starts, I mean, I don't see why they can't go all the way. But then really the World Series champion, because of experience with the willingness to win, I picked Boston, honestly. It would make me cry, tears of hatred towards them. But I still think they have the best chance of winning it.
Josh and I will be there to drink your tears if it happens.
That would be pretty sick. I'm not gonna lie. The drinking tears part, I don't care about the Red Sox winning. I just want to drink Ryan's tears. All right, so we'll go into some of the awards, I guess, Major League awards. AL MVP, I have Jose Abreu winning the MVP. I think chicks dig the long ball, and so do the writers. And I think Jose Abreu is a guy that can put up 40-plus home runs. In this day and age, you put up 40-plus home runs, you're going to win the MVP. And so basically, that's why I'm picking him.
I got Trout. That's really it.
Yeah, I agree with Greg. I went with, even though I don't even have them winning that division, I still have Trout as the MVP because I think he's just by far and away the best player in the MLB right now. I don't think anyone would contest that. And, I mean, the lineup's there to help him. I mean, I would love to see my comeback player get it, but we'll talk about that in a little bit.
Well, to kind of steal your thunder, I'm going to go with Cano. I think the biggest thing, I guess it's for me, is that, like Josh said, I hate players that just knock 40 home runs and it's automatic, like, oh, you could hit a home run, so you're the MVP. But really, they don't think of it's the most valuable player for that team, and that's what Cano will be for the Mariners. He'll have that leadership role. If he can turn it on and get that 30 home runs with 100 RBIs and a good average, which he's known to do, he plays the field every day. He's not one of these outfielders that stands out there and, oh, fuck, a ball's coming my way, I'll take a step to the left or the right. He's, at a really hard position, and I think that that never gets looked into when you're looking for an MVP. So I don't know why I always look at it, but to me, if Cano comes back with a big year, leading that team to the playoffs, that's a huge accomplishment.
So basically, you're picking an MVP based on your standards, even though you know that there's no way the writers are gonna vote for it.
No, it's the right standards. Like if you look at the NBA.
Okay, but right, that's what I'm saying though. Even if it is the right standards, they're never gonna do that. They're not gonna. No, in every league, they never choose who's actually the most valuable player of the team. They just whoever has the flashiest stats.
Yeah, but even like Russell Westbrook. All right, there's no Durant. Ibaka's been out half the year, and this guy's putting up triple-doubles like they're falling out his ass crack, and he's not even getting talked about for MVP, and you look at James Harden or Steph Curry who just fucking throws up threes, which Westbrook does as well. Like, I don't get how you don't look at Westbrook, because without Westbrook on the Thunder, they would not even be a team winning, like, probably 30 games.
Yeah, it just never works that way. I mean, I agree with you. It just never works that way, but yeah, I wanted to take Trout, but, I mean, back-to-back MVPs, like, you just don't see that happening. So I think the people who vote will actually kind of take that into account and be like, well, is he worthy of – because that's just what they do, especially in baseball. They always take it to that level.
The baseball writers are the fucking worst. Like,
yeah.
They are. So many, like, old, just – like backwards, stubborn people in there. That you're absolutely right. I can very much see, like, Trout could have a season like better than he had last year, and there'd be no one close, and they just pick the next guy in line just so he doesn't win 2 in a row.
Right.
Just old spiteful douchebags.
Yeah, that's basically why I changed it from Trout to Abreu when I was thinking about it. NL MVP, I'm just sticking with the same standard. Stanton can hit 40 home runs. Chicks dig the long ball, and I think they'll. In this day and age, you do that, man. It's way more impressive than it used to be, and it deserves an award. So, yeah, I got Stanton.
I also have Stanton.
Yeah, I went. I mean, so Mike Trout, I think, is a legit AL MVP pick. I think that actually, I stand by that pick. I do think I'm getting a little bit too. I don't even know what the word for it is. Popular. I don't even know by going with McCutcheon for the NL MVP. I feel like that's too much of an obvious answer, but I don't know. I think he's probably the best player in the NL. So
He's been close the last couple of years, so this might be his year.
yeah.
Yeah, he's a 5-tool player. That's what helps him.
I went with a guy who knows might get injured in week 3. But if he doesn't, I really like the team. He's kind of sitting in the dark the last 5 years because the Mets have been so bad. But I like David Wright, and he has the ability to knock 30 to 40 home runs and get those RBIs if he has the right team around him. I also think he's a really good feel-good story because it's David Wright. You know what I mean? He's a huge part of the Mets and everything they've done. Thanks, Greg, for fixing that. But I like David Wright and I like the Mets. I just don't think they'll win it all this year, which also kind of hurts a team when you look at an MVP. Like if you have a really shitty team, you don't get thought of sometimes.
Yeah, I mean that's legit. He's obviously not thought of because he's on the Mets, but that's a pretty that's like the opposite of what Hardy was saying about his pick. He's going too popular. Ryan's like, what's like the guy who like there's no way he's gonna get an MVP, but I should probably just pick him anyway.
He's gonna get like 2 votes.
You guys watch when you guys are blowing my dick when he gets it.
The last time he hit
I don't
30
care if
home
you win,
runs.
still not blowing your dick, you clown.
The last time David Wright hit 30 home runs was 2008. So good luck. Good luck with that pick. All right. What's next? Let's see. AL Cy Young. Man, this one is so hard. I hate Cy Young because like pitchers are so inconsistent, and even the ones that are consistent, like you never they're inconsistent with their consistency. Like even like a guy like so I'm picking Chris Sale. So he's been consistent his whole career. So I'm just gonna pick him and say that he's the Cy Young. But that doesn't mean. I mean, Felix Hernandez can obviously. I mean, what's the difference going to be? Is he going to get 20 less strikeouts than he did last year, and that's the difference, or like a 2.8 instead of a 2.5 ERA, and that's the difference? I just think when you get to the top echelon of pitchers, there's really not a lot separating them. So Chris Sale, Felix Hernandez, David Price. Who else is there? I mean, you could name like 5 more guys that could possibly. So
you just named
like Sale.
So
yeah. So I just picked Sale because do it.
Yeah, I have Price. Like you said, at the top tier of pitching for the Cy Young, it always just seems like a crapshoot. You never really know until the All-Star break, and even then things break down. So
Yeah, so I went with King Felix because I feel like one of the ways you kind of get the Cy Young is by being on a winning team, being the one with a high win count for the year, low loss count. And I have the Mariners having a good, strong year, so what the hell? King Felix it is.
So I went with like what Greg said. I like David Price. I'm curious to see what he does with a full year with the Tigers. I feel like they have more offense to back him up than when he did when he was in Tampa. I mean, don't get me wrong, he had great years when he was in Tampa, but I just like the team he's on now. I think he has more to prove because everyone's like, oh, what are you going to do without Max Scherzer? Who's this bum? Who's going to step up? I think Price could come in. I also think, I'm pretty sure he's on a 1-year deal, so he's still got a lot to play for future money.
NL Cy Young, I went with. I couldn't go with Kershaw again, so I was like, well, who's the next closest? I mean, you can go with Scherzer, maybe is who I was thinking, but I just went with Zimmerman just because he's also on a contract year, and I just love guys when their contract years just always seem to kick it up a notch. He's young, he's been right in that upper echelon, but hasn't made that jump yet. So as good as he is, he's still a depth guy in that rotation, and I think kind of being hidden in that ridiculous rotation is going to help him even more. And I think he'll stand out by the end of the season as the NL Cy Young.
I went Kershaw because why not?
So I went with Strasburg. Pretty similar reason to you, Josh. I feel like he's going to be really hidden in that Nationals rotation. Nobody's really thinking, but he's still totally a number one. I mean, he's better than any of the pitchers we have as a Yankees. So, I mean, I don't know. I think I agree with you, Josh. I like either Strasburg or Zimmerman this year, especially because you're not thinking of them. I mean, you are thinking of them when you talk about the Nationals, but you're thinking a lot more about Scherzer too. And so it's just kind of a mess of pitching, and I think that it won't necessarily be Scherzer who comes out as the number one. I mean, he'll still probably pitch as number one for the whole year, but I have a feeling that people will be talking about Zimmerman or Strasburg towards the end of the year. Also with my win argument, actually with my wins, because they'll be facing a lot of 2s and 3s versus Scherzer facing a lot of 1s. That won't affect their stats necessarily, but that'll probably give them more wins and less losses, and I think that comes into play when you're talking about a Cy Young winner. So,
I guess to me, when I think of the Nationals, and if I'm going to pick a guy on that rotation, is they truly have to be the best guy out of all those number ones. So, I mean, though Zimmerman might put up a 17-4 record, if you have Strasburg put up a 20-3, he's automatically better than Zimmerman, because that's just a killer rotation. And to me, you're battling your own guys for Cy Young, which is just so hard. You know what I mean? I don't like that. I don't like how you could have potentially 4 Cy Young winners, and then you're looking at 4 different guys. So they truly have to be the best guy, not only on that staff, but the league. So I went with Wainwright, as kind of like Josh said. He's just this consistent beast that gets you 20-5, 19-6, a good ERA. I guess the thing is he needs to up his strikeouts because that's what they look for, and his whip. But, I mean, I just like Wainwright on that team that is the Cardinals that always wins.
Yeah, I can see all of those happening. So, AL Rookie of the Year. So I think this is probably the hardest out of everything, just because there aren't a lot of AL rookies that are staring you in the face.
Yeah, I took the name off a website.
Yeah, I mean it's really hard. Originally I had Mookie Betts,
but he's not eligible, right?
Right, and which pisses me off because he would easily be the favorite, especially the way everyone was talking about him and how he performed last year. But he was a few, like 30 at bats, I think, over. So I went with Rusney Castillo. I think the thing that helps him the most is like what helped Jose Abreu last year. He's 27 years old, so he's literally in his prime right now. But he's a rookie because technically this is his first year in the majors. And I mean, I think he'll be up here within a month because Victorino isn't going to stay healthy for an entire month. So he'll be up here. He'll start hammering the ball, and then he'll basically never look back, and he'll be the Rookie of the Year.
I took Brandon Finnegan because I picked a name off of a prediction website. So because I know
expert analysis from Greg.
I know jack shit about baseball prospects.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same spot as Greg there, but I didn't even bother to pick a name, so I
win by default.
Yeah, you
so
get
you're
the
just,
point there.
So Greg's ignorant, and you're just ignorant and lazy. Good job, Hardy.
All right, I guess for me, and again, Ryan with his oddball shit he's throwing out, is that pitchers probably will never win this award, really. But I love Daniel Norris, and what he's been able to do in just the spring training. His last outing in spring training, he was 8 Ks in 6 innings. He's got a 2.28 ERA in 25 innings with 30 Ks. He led the team in strikeouts over spring. And I know spring training is kind of like a thing. You're like, oh, fuck, it's spring training. But for a guy coming up, he lives out of a van down by a river. What's a cooler story than that? He's just a beast that can throw hard with a young arm. I like his story, and I like what he could do again in Toronto because that team scares me.
Yeah, I actually like Norris as a pick. The only thing that concerns me is it's so much easier to come in the league your first year and mash as a hitter than it is to, pitch a really, really strong year and win as a pitcher. Yeah. But and his walk rate is kind of alarming to me in the minors. That could eat him up in the majors because, Major League hitting is a lot better at seeing balls and taking walks, and that could be something that hurts him. But to me, he's the leading candidate. If I was going to pick a pitcher, he'd be my top guy. So I can definitely see that happening. Plus, the dude has a rockin' beard, so you gotta pick him. He's gonna be great just based off that. NL Rookie of the Year, a lot less controversial. There's really only like 3 guys that anyone's even talking about, which is fair. Really 2 guys now that Yasmani Tomas is kind of like got brought back down and scouts are worried about him. But so I picked Chris Bryant. I mean, sometimes I like being the contrarian, but dude's just insane. Top prospect in all of the majors. Going on a young Cubs team that he's going to start basically every day once his 10 games are up and they decide and they want to bring him up. Just completely dominated. I mean, just completely dominated the minors. And he had 43 home runs between AA and AAA last year, 342 average. That stuff's going to translate at some level to the majors. He's got insane power. He always had, and he has a great eye. And I mean, he's just going to have an insane on-base percentage and home runs. That's just going to lead to even more stats. And I just don't see anyone rivaling what he's going to be able to do in his first year.
Yeah, I can't really add anything to that. I took Chris Bryant as well.
Yeah, I feel like Chris Bryant's a pretty obvious pick. So I mean, he's the only one I'd heard of, but I've heard a lot about him because I know he totally killed the minors. So I'm just stuck with Chris Bryant.
Well, again, to be different because you guys are just all idiots, I went with Jorge Soler. Again, he's a Cub. Again, he's young. But I really, again, Chris Bryant, yeah, he's beast. But I wanted to look at what he was able to do when he got brought up to the majors last year in actual Major League play. And he had a 292 average, 8 doubles and 5 home runs in 24 games. That's pretty good. I mean, yes, you got a small sample size of 24 games, but when you're batting almost 300 and you're getting doubles and home runs, which people like, it's going to get you on the team. He's now batting second. He went 0 for 4 yesterday, but I like what he will be able to do, and I think there's no real spotlight on him as much as Chris Bryant. Chris Bryant's like, man, you're going to produce, where this guy's kind of like, yeah, he's up there, but maybe he can slide under and not get as much pressure as Bryant does.
Yeah, Jorge Soler was my second pick, which says a lot about the Cubs. I mean, so much young talent on that team. But the thing that stood out with Soler to me, in 97 plate appearances, he had a 281 ISO. I mean, that's just like beyond next level. Obviously a short sample size, but like Ryan said, with that doubles count and the 5 home runs in just 24 games, that ISO average is going to be ridiculously high, and it is. So even if he can hit, I mean, there's no way he's going to keep that pace, but if he can even hit a 200 ISO throughout the season, he's definitely going to be competing at that level. I can see Chris Bryant or Soler. So, AL Comeback Player of the Year. This is kind of the award everyone forgets about, but I just figured why not do it. I picked Pedroia. Based on because he killed my fantasy team last year. So, yeah, I'm hoping for a comeback this year for the Red Sox sake as well. The only thing that worries me is that even if I just think that the difference between his bad year last year and his good year this year isn't going to be big enough, so he may not make it up. But I couldn't really think of anyone in the AL other than him, so that was my pick.
Yeah, I'm bad about following baseball, so I didn't actually have a pick for this. This is my Hardy moment. But I mean, like, gun to my head, right now I'd just probably go with Pedroia for the same reasons. Again, though, I'm not sure. Like, I mean, hell, if yesterday was any indication, then yeah, he definitely will. But he's not going to hit 324 home runs this year. So, But yeah, if he has a good year, he might at least be in contention.
Yeah, to continue talking up the Mariners, I think it made it pretty clear by now that Cano is my comeback player of the year. It's kind of similar position to what you were talking about, Josh. Cano wasn't exactly horrible last year, so it wouldn't be, he'd have to have a pretty good year to be considered a comeback player of the year, but what the hell, there's my pick. So
I thought kind of hard about this one, and you guys will obviously laugh, but this man can't do any worse than what he did last year. This man, even if he hit 250, would be a tremendous amount better than last. A-Rod. I mean, let me talk about A-Rod here for a minute. He's looking good in spring, and this man didn't play at all last year. So to me, if he throws up like 60 RBIs and like 15 home runs, fuck yeah, give the man the award. It's the only thing he's ever going to get in the MLB. He clearly ain't going to get in the Hall of Fame now. I mean, geez. But I do like what he could potentially do. And say, I don't know, let's pray the 3 Hail Marys and do some other things. But say he hits 30 home runs, man, like you're literally like transformation A-Rod.
The floor is just so low. It's a pretty solid argument. Like if he produces anything,
right.
if he can even justify himself staying in the lineup, he's comeback player of the year.
Yeah, the only thing with A-Rod, though, is, I mean, literally,
hate him.
Yeah, they're not going to – he can hit like 30 home runs and 130 RBIs, and they'll be like, no, it's A-Rod. There's no way we're giving that award to him.
Yeah.
All right, on to the NL. My NL comeback player of the year, I couldn't choose between Joey Votto and Matt Harvey. Matt Harvey, because he didn't pitch last year, and his first year was so insane that if he puts up the first year numbers after not pitching at all next year, I don't see how you can't make him comeback player of the year. But I ended up going with Votto based on how good he's been in the past. I mean, always putting up 20 home runs, 100 RBIs, and then last year he's battling injuries / just basically sucking the entire year. And if he even just goes back to normal, increasing from 6 home runs to 25, 30 RBIs to 100, 32 runs to 100, 23 RBIs to 80 to 100. I mean, it's going to be hard not to pick him as the comeback player of the year. And he's kind of been doing this his whole career, where he has a couple down years and then has a year where he hits 40 home runs, and then has a couple bad years, so it wouldn't surprise me if he bounces back up again. Gregory?
I didn't make a pick. I know jack shit about the National League, so I don't even know who had down years, who could have good years. So I could steal one of your cast-offs like Sean just did, but I don't. I can't back it up with anything, so I left it blank.
Yeah, if you don't want to count this as my official one, because technically the season has started, and I totally just stole this from you, Josh. But I'm gonna go.
Son of a bitch.
You can not count it. I would totally be fair. But I'm gonna go with Matt Harvey, just because I think Tommy John surgery is not such a big deal anymore, and I do think he's a pretty solid pitcher. And I think that's not a bad pick for comeback player of the year. Count it if you want. Count it if you don't. Whatever. Either way.
For me, I actually threw a name up there, so unlike you guys, I don't have to steal one of Josh's. But I really like Matt Kemp. I mean, he didn't have a good year last year. He's kind of a cast-off from the Dodgers. He gets to go to this brand-new-look San Diego team that could potentially produce a lot of runs, potentially, with what they have. And if he goes back to his old form, he's going to be a beast, and that team's going to be a beast. So it's a comeback player to look at.
Yeah, I think Kemp's done, but I mean, if he does return, that'd be pretty insane, and he'd definitely win. So all these are written down. At the end of the year, we can go back and see who bullshitted the best, basically. Greg, do you want to go on to NHL stuff?
Yeah, that's what I was going to jump in. All right, so really this is just a bit of a prelude to get to a more general conversation because I know there's some strong opinions in this group about tanking. So for those of you who haven't been following, the NHL season is all but over, and a more entertaining race than the playoff races, which there are some good ones. The Bruins are 2 points up on Ottawa, who is playing tonight. I think they both have 3 games left. But Detroit is also playing tonight, and Detroit has slipped up enough recently that theoretically the Bruins could actually pass them and go into third in the division, and Detroit could wind up fighting for a wild card spot. So there's a lot of variables. It's a lot of fun. There's like 7 games going on right now. Everyone should be watching hockey. That being said, the more entertaining race is the race for last place overall, because the draft system in the NHL guarantees the last place team. They have a lottery, like the NBA, it's a weighted lottery, but they guarantee the last place team at least the top 2 pick, one of the top 2 picks. So the last place team gets the 20% chance at the number 1 overall, but the most they can move back is to number 2. And this year you have Connor McDavid, who's the consensus number 1 overall pick, who has just been lighting it up in juniors all year. So he's number 1. He's going first. And you also have Jack Eichel, who is on the verge of playing with BU in the Frozen Four. Hopefully they lose because I'm on the Nodak bandwagon. Sorry, Hardy. I know you're an alum there now, but yeah. So Eichel's also a stud. So you have 2 franchise players. Like these are the first can't miss guys who've come up since Sidney Crosby. So the Sabres and the Cardinals have been in all-out fire sale mode for most of the year. And it's gotten to the point where last week they played each other. The game went to overtime. It was in Buffalo, and when Arizona scored to win, the crowd went nuts, ballistic. And it pissed off all the Buffalo players, naturally, because they're out there trying to win, and their own fans are cheering against them because they're like, all right, no, we got to lose this game. So this is where I want to get into it because it's one of those tough problems that everyone seems to have opinions on. So I guess I'll go ahead and start. I think in this situation, tanking is justified, but there's a right and there's a wrong way to tank. You can't go out and tell your players to lose. You go out and tell your players to play to lose. You're going to build a losing culture. No one's going to want to be there. The coach isn't going to want to be a part of that. So it's going to – you can't just flip that switch on and off. You can't tell players to lose. You can't tell coaches to lose. But as a GM, if you're tanking, what you can do is say, yeah, go out and win all the games you can, and then just gut that team. Free up cap space. Trade away your dead weight. Make some moves, so you're telling them go out and try and win with this, but really they have nothing to win with. And I think that's the appropriate way to tank if you're going to tank. And Buffalo has done a really good job of that this year. The other thing is, people get really upset about tanking, and, I mean, the NHL has kind of brought this on themselves. There are a lot better systems, but really, how often is this a problem? That's why I don't get, some people are, all upset about this, it's an affront to the game, but it's a problem, once every 10 years. So, we always talk about it then, but then next year no one's going to be openly tanking and no one's going to care. So, let's just open it up to opinions on tanking in general, unless you guys have some NHL-specific stuff to get to.
I'll just say that. So I understand from a team's perspective. I even would understand, which I'm sure Josh would argue. I think he even wrote that. Is that it is in the team's best interest to tank. And again, I totally understand where the interest is, and from the team's perspective, if you can do that and get the number 1 pick that way, and you can get one of those guys, then you know what, go for it. If the rules allow it, do it. Absolutely fine, whatever. The way I look at it, though, is that it is, and not just because I know, Greg, you also had a good point when saying that it doesn't come up that often, but it hurts. It just hurts the integrity of the game, I feel like, and that comes from any sport when you're tanking, no matter what league you're in. I think if it's able to happen and you can do that, then as long as it's not against the rules, I don't hold that against any team at all. I do not hold that against any fan. I don't hold it against any team, coach, any player, anybody, if that's how they plan on going about it. But I just feel like it's one of those things where we need to come up collectively with every league, not just the NHL, every sport needs to come up with a way to make it so tanking would be ineffective. Now, I don't know how you do that because you want to have parity, so you want to have the bad teams picking first, that sort of thing. But I just feel like, you should be sitting there with, I don't care if the Giants are 0-15, I want to go into that stadium week 17 and be rooting all the hell for the Giants to win that last game. I don't want there ever to be a scenario where I'm actually rooting for my favorite team to be losing. If it makes sense, sure, fine. I'm not going to discredit anybody, but I think there needs to be a way to make it not effective.
So had you been a Colts fan during the Luck sweepstakes, would you not have been rooting for them to lose?
It's tough for me to say. I wish that the scenario wasn't like that. That's basically my main point. Is I think that it's horrible that it ends up being that way. I can't say that right now that I would like to say that I would root for the Giants still to win or the Colts still to win if I was a Colts fan, but I don't know that I can say that because I've never been in that situation, and I probably would root for them to lose to get Andrew Luck. But
you absolutely would.
That's what I'm saying. My main point is that we need
to not to do that. Like, you follow it too well. You know what I mean? You're looking at draft picks like 3 years from now. I know you. All right, this shit's like.
Well, my main point, what I'm getting at, is that there needs to be a way, and I don't know how you do this. Maybe there's not a way, but there really needs to be a way that we can eliminate tanking because. If it's there, if it's possible and it works, then like I said, fine. But I really, I hate it. I hate it when it happens. I don't discredit anyone for it. I'll say that 1,000 times. But I hate that it's a part of sports.
Though, because you said it's an affront to the integrity of the game. If it's within the rules, then it's the system you're playing, and you're playing the game.
Well, then I'm discrediting the system.
Some unwritten code of ethics. Like I said, the players are still out there playing. The GMs just know that they need to suck. So they build a team that sucks, and then goes, here, guys, have fun.
Well, right, I'm discrediting the system. I'm just discrediting the system. I wish there was a way to fix that system.
My biggest thing is I don't think it ruins any integrity just because the players and the coach are still going out there and trying hard. And usually if a team's tanking, they're not getting rid of their young players with good contracts because they're looking at the future. They're just getting rid of those veteran high salaries that are going to hurt them in the future. So they're just saying, look, it's not just a tank. It's not just going after the number one pick. It's also looking at your collective team and saying, this guy isn't going to be on my team next year or even the year after that. I'm going to trade him now, get rid of that cap space, and hey, if that makes me worse and then I get that top pick, well, then that's just a bonus.
You basically treat it as an extended offseason.
Right.
Well, maybe integrity is the wrong word. Spirit of the game. Is that a better choice of words? It hurts the spirit of the game. That's how I feel about it.
Because you still have... Like I said, you still want your players to go out and try and play to win. They're just not going to be able to do it because they suck.
I mean, I wouldn't as a fan, but it doesn't. Okay, the spirit of the game. Okay, yeah, the spirit of the game. Yeah, I can see it ruining the spirit of the game. But your team put themselves in that position by sucking ass in the first place. So they ruin the spirit of the game by, sucking. If they were just good and just rebuilt before they got bad, then they wouldn't be in that position.
Sure, fine. I mean, like I said, as long as it's part of the game, then I'm not gonna say anyone's wrong by doing it. And hell, Greg, you pretty much cleared it. I would probably root for the Giants to lose if it meant we got Andrew Luck that year. I mean, it's just I hate that it's part of the game. That's my main point. I hate that
there
it
are other
exists.
systems.
Right.
That's one thing that's come up a lot this year. I want to let Ryan jump in, though.
So I guess to me is the comment I wrote, I love to hate it and hate to love it. I mean, like you guys said, if it's the Jets and clearly in the Andrew Luck sweepstakes, I wouldn't only hope they lost. I'd give both my testicles. I'd say you can have my house. I'd fucking give them the state of Maine. We're getting I mean, I don't care what I have to do.
Ryan would be buying jerseys from all the other teams on their schedule that year.
Right? No, but I guess I don't want to steal this from you, Greg, but there is other systems out there, and I think that this system is probably the best because it gives a team that really needs that pick the best player, or potentially could be the best player. Like, I hate the NBA system. The NBA system is a joke with that lottery. I mean, you could potentially have a playoff team that, could even win the championship, and they could get the first pick overall. Like, how does that make
That's
any
not how it works.
What?
That's not how it works. You have to be in the lottery to get the first pick.
Okay, so it's not, you can't win a championship, but potentially, like...
You can be the first team out of the playoffs.
What?
That's how it is in the NHL, too. There's like a 1% chance. All 11 teams who don't make the playoffs.
Yeah, but it's a higher than a 1% chance. The NBA is pretty high that, like, it's
No,
like,
it's just one.
if you're the worst team...
It's not even 1. It's like 0.4 at the top.
The worst team gets the first overall pick in the NBA?
What?
What's the percentage that the worst team gets the first overall pick in the NBA?
Oh, I don't know. It's like 30%, I think.
Yeah. Okay, so how is that a good percentage?
In the NHL, it's only 20.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That's the thing, though. That the lottery was the system that was supposed to stop tanking, because the NBA is the most rampant tanking in all of the 4 major sports. I mean, you literally have, like, if you're not the top 8 seed in either division, you're basically, the rest of them are all trying to tank this season. So, so basically that's why they invented the lottery, was because, you want to tank? Well, you could tank and end up with a 5th pick, so you probably shouldn't do that. But there's no other option. Really, the system that's hurting them is the fact that there isn't enough players to make it a parodied league, and because there's only 5 players, if you have one superstar, they can change the entire aspect of your game. So it's based on the game itself and the fact that you don't have enough good players to actually spread out between the league. I think that's one of the reasons you don't really see it with the NFL, because you can get talent in the freaking 6th round.
So many first-round picks actually work out. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. So that's why I think that's what helps the NFL. I think the biggest system change is bringing enough talent into the league that you don't need to tank for that one guy, because there's 5 more of him right behind the corner.
And this is definitely an anomaly year for the NHL, where you have 2 like surefire can't miss prospects at the top of the draft. That like never happens. You have down years where teams are like, wait, who are we taking? Who the fuck is this guy? But this is just happens to be the year McDavid becomes eligible, who people have been looking at for years. And it also just happens that Jack Eichel is in the mix too. If any other year, Jack Eichel's a number 1 overall, but because he's behind McDavid, so that's why there's that cushion. Because that's why it's really only a problem this year, because the lottery, like you said, was the system that's supposed to get rid of tanking, because it doesn't guarantee you anything. It doesn't guarantee you the last overall pick. But in the NHL, in this year, the last place team is guaranteed either 1 or 2. The most spots they can move down is 2. So, oh no, they might lose the lottery, not get McDavid. Your consolation prize is Jack Eichel. That's still a huge pick. So that's why it's a problem this year. I don't think they necessarily need to make a change. I think the NHL has a lot more changes that need to be addressed before they even start looking at the draft lottery. So, but all in all, I don't have a problem with tanking. It sucks that it's become a part of the sports landscape, I guess. But I mean, really, it makes things interesting. It keeps it. Whether you're rooting for the wrong outcome, I mean, it still gives you something to look forward to at the end of the season, rather than just wasted time.
I don't know, I guess with that, though, is that you don't actually root for your team. Like, and I'm not throwing you guys, but before the Red Sox in 2003, I mean, yes, you have a very dedicated fan base, I'm not saying, but, I mean, there's just so many people that didn't care what the Red Sox did because they were bad for so long. And then all of a sudden they win, and it's like, oh, holy shit, we won, we're back, and like, yes, you're always good, you have a good fan base, but I'm saying there's tons of fans that do that in every sport and on every team. But right now, for like the Knicks, in my stance, is they're tanking this year on purpose, and I can't watch them. I don't want to watch them, and if they do this for multiple years, it, like Sean says, it does start to take away from the integrity, because then I don't have a reason to watch the sport anymore.
Right, but they brought them on themselves. I mean, they're going to suck regardless.
Right, but I mean, like,
that's the only way.
There for 5 years saying, I want to lose every year, I want to lose every year.
if they're tanking for 5 years, then they did a really shitty job tanking. So
Right. Yeah. A tank is only supposed to be a one and done thing.
right. I mean, in the NBA, maybe it'll last a couple of years, but I mean, you look at the Celtics, what Ainge did when they tanked a few years, and then use those first round draft picks to trade for Garnett and then get Ray Allen. I mean, it's just a necessity in the league. When you suck, you basically have to tank to come back. And if you do it the right way, you only have to suck for 1, maybe 2 years before you can swap the picks or get the key additions so that you can be a good team again. But either way, I mean, that's literally the only way to build. So either you're watching them for the way I see it, you're either watching them for 5 years suck and try to do something but can't because they're not tanking and they're just a 8th seed or a ninth or 10th seed just out on the outer edge of the playoffs, or they tank for a couple years and then end up getting the guys they need to be contenders again. I just think that's the only way you can do it in the NBA anyway. It's a much quicker road to the playoffs through tanking than it is trying to find something by being the last team in every year.
I think the Hawks. I know we want to get done, but I think I agree with you, Josh, for the tanking. But I think the Hawks were a team that were able to do that without tanking, and I think that's kind of cool that they made it this far.
Right, but it only took them like 5 years.
No, I realize that. I like I said, it's a faster way, but I like what the Hawks have done, putting together like an 8 seed, an 8 seed, a 9 seed, a 7 seed, and now boom, they're number 1. But I agree with you. It is a lot quicker to do it the other way.
That's the exception, not the rule.
Right. That doesn't happen very often, and no one even thought it was going to happen this year. No one had the Hawks, so. So on that, obviously the show ran a little long because you all talk way too much.
Yeah, it's
God damn it. So yeah, we'll wrap this up, and hopefully there'll be kind of the dead period. We'll probably talk about NFL draft next week.
We'll find some stuff.
I think that would be the best thing to talk about. Maybe we can do some predictions in a couple of weeks, at least the first round. So we have that to look forward to.
We can analyze presidential races.
It's a year away.
Yeah,
that's next year.
All right.
All right. So yeah, see you guys next week. Minor League Maineiacs signing out.